Hello everybody, and welcome back to Chef Reviews Zombies Maps, and today we are doing Revelations. This map is pretty solid. It's not one of my favorites, but you know what? At the end of it, I looked at the pros and cons and did a rating. We'll also notice that the game over screen is round 0, but that's because when I originally died, I was explaining it to Seth and forgot to record the outro, so I just kind of started a new game and quit it immediately, so yeah. Without further ado, we'll do our pros and our cons like usual, give it a rating, recommendation, and then we'll call it a video. So to start off with pros, we have the return of the Guard of Fafnir, which is the shield from Gorod Krovi. Super OP, helps me out in a ton of tight situations, and it's not too hard to build. The parts are pretty easy to remember, so yeah. The return of the Thunder Gun, it is in the box. I don't know if there's a way to get it in the map. It's super dope, super fun to use, and I just absolutely love it. Like, it's such a fun weapon. It doesn't get a ton of ammo, but I mean, it is super OP, so that explains why. The locations. If you've never played this map, it's just like a conjunction of a ton of different maps into one, because the Shadow Man and Dr. Monty kind of ruined a lot of things, and it's distorted, and the Great War is about to happen, and it's really cool, but at the same time it almost feels like form over function. But we'll talk about that more in the cons. The locations themselves are really cool, and the way they did it is cool, but we'll get into that later. The music shifts. So what I mean by that is generally when you visit a location, it'll play music that plays in the background when you're actually playing that map. Like if you go through Shangri-La, it'll be the background music for that. If you're going through Mob of the Dead or Origins, it'll do the same thing. And actually, while recording for this, was the first time I noticed that ever. And I don't know how, because I've played this map a ton, especially when it first came out. This was my go-to map. It's just, it's so cool. It's such a nice little detail that can be overlooked, clearly. And I think it's dope. The Pack-a-Punch, which I for some reason didn't get any footage of, but it is inside an apothecant servant, and you have to go in and open its belly, and there you get it. It's a super cool location. Not to mention the Pack-a-Punch camos are super dope. Now that's another pro that I have, is there's 3 or 4 of them, and they all kind of have the look that I have on that gun right there, and there's that one, which is my favorite. And there's one that everybody got as like a community reward. It's like green with yellow lightning. It's just super cool. Now, the story is super important with this, and that's another pro. But it's also like, kind of like, you don't have to beat the map to hear some of the story. There's little lanterns with purple or red lights. If they have a purple light, it'll be Dr. Monty's side of things. If it has a red light, it'll be the Shadow Man's. And it's kind of cool that they did things like that in the map so that just anybody can go in and get some of the story information and some of the behind the scenes, well, not behind the scenes, but like out of the way information. And it's really nice, and it's such a cool little detail, and I always activate them even though I've heard them hundreds of times. It's just something I really enjoy. Not to mention, while you're playing, after you do certain things, Dr. Monty will speak up anyway and just kind of talk to you for a minute. And it's a really nice map in the sense of like people who don't do Easter eggs can still get some information on the story, and I always love that stuff. Like, it's part of the reason I like Gorod Krovi so much in Origins, is like with Origins you have Samantha talking to you, and Gorod Krovi you have Nikolai and Dr. Monty talking to you. It's just always a nice thing for maps to have. Now the cons. It does sometimes feel like it's very much form over function, whereas they wanted to go out on a bang, and they made this map that's an amalgamation of all the well, not all, but a lot of the very popular maps. And sometimes getting around can be kind of annoying, forgetting what maps are connected to what if you don't play this a ton. And it's not a bad thing, like, necessarily. It feels more like they were thinking, like, this is the last map, and they wanted to do something crazy for it, but I don't know. It's just a little nitpick. All my cons for maps are generally just little nitpicks. You can't go in the house. And what I mean by that is the house in the very beginning. I might even be wrong because I haven't beaten the Easter egg, but I'm almost certain you can't. And it just feels, that house right there, it just feels like I wish we would have been able to. Of all the locations we can access in this map, that would have been a really nice one. The house has been being teased since Origins, and here it is right in front of us, but we can't get in it. And I just kind of wish that we would have been able to. It would have been really nice. And my last con is the bot flies, which I don't know if that's what they're called, but the little flying goobers that show up instead of hellhounds. They weren't such a problem on Shadows of Evil, but they come way more like in a group in this one, and they're so aggressive. If you don't have Jug by the first time they show up, which is super easy to do, but again, if you don't have Jug by the first time they show up, it can be kind of a problem, and they can easily down you like without a problem. And I don't enjoy that very much. I think it's kind of crazy how aggressive they got in this map, but I get it. It is right before the war, be all end all, whatever. But yeah, with those out of the way, I had to think super hard on this, because I know it's the last map besides Zombies Chronicles, which we will be doing, but I decided to give this one an 8.5. I was torn between 7.5 and 8.5. I knew I wanted it in that ballpark, but I really wasn't sure until I sat down and wrote out all the pros and cons. And yeah, I think it deserves that rating. That's a solid rating. I don't think it's the best one in this game, but I do think it's a really cool way, and it was a really nice what we thought was the ending before Zombies Chronicles was released. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. Hope you're having a good day. If you're watching early on, have a good rest of your day. See you in the next one. Until then, keep surviving, and I do heavily recommend this map, as it is just cool to see. Even if you're not playing to do the Easter egg, it's super fun and awesome to look at. So, yeah. The next one will be Noctur and Toten Zombies Chronicles version. See ya.